In the heart of a forgotten city, where shadows danced upon crumbling walls and ancient secrets whispered through the wind, there stood a decrepit manor. Its Gothic spires reached towards the moonlit sky, as if yearning to grasp the secrets of the heavens. This was the home of the Coven of the Raven, a sisterhood of enigmatic witches who wielded the dark arts with unsettling grace. Amidst the bustling streets of the city, a young woman named Elyse found herself drawn to the manor, as if an invisible thread pulled her towards its haunting presence. Elyse had always been different, an outsider among her peers, with a restless soul that longed for something more. As she approached the iron gates, a chill ran down her spine, and the air seemed to crackle with an unseen energy. The gates creaked open, revealing a winding path flanked by twisted trees and overgrown hedges. Elyse stepped forward, her heart pounding in her chest as she ventured deeper into the Coven's domain. The path led her to a grand entrance, where a pair of heavy wooden doors stood sentinel, adorned with intricate carvings of ravens in flight. As if sensing her presence, the doors swung open, revealing a dimly lit foyer. Elyse entered, her footsteps echoing against the marble floor. The air was thick with the scent of incense and ancient tomes, and the walls were adorned with tapestries depicting arcane symbols and mysterious figures. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the shadows, a woman draped in a midnight black cloak, her face obscured by a raven-shaped mask. "Welcome, Elyse," the woman said, her voice a melodic whisper that seemed to resonate through the room. "We have been expecting you. The Raven Queen has chosen you, my dear, to join our sisterhood and embrace the power that flows through your veins." Elyse stood transfixed, her eyes locked on the masked figure before her. Questions raced through her mind. Who was this woman, and what did she mean by the Raven Queen's choice? The cloaked figure motioned for Elyse to follow, leading her deeper into the manor's labyrinthine halls. As they walked, the woman introduced herself as Morgana, the High Priestess of the Coven. She spoke of the ancient power that flowed through the sisterhood, a dark magic that had been passed down through generations. Elyse listened intently, her curiosity piqued by the tales of arcane rituals and otherworldly realms. Morgana led Elyse to a grand chamber where a dozen hooded figures stood in a circle around a raised dais. Upon the dais sat a throne of obsidian, its surface gleaming in the flickering candlelight. Morgana took her place upon the throne, and the hooded figures turned to face Elyse, their eyes glinting beneath their cowls. "Elyse," Morgana began, her voice echoing through the chamber, "you have been chosen by the Raven Queen to join our sisterhood. Your power, though untapped, is strong. We can teach you to harness it, to bend the forces of nature to your will. But be warned, the path of the Coven is not for the faint of heart. It requires sacrifice, dedication, and an unwavering commitment to the dark arts." Elyse's heart raced as she considered Morgana's words. The promise of power was alluring, but she could sense the danger that lurked beneath the surface. She looked around the chamber, taking in the faces of the other witches, each one a mystery waiting to be unraveled. With a deep breath, Elyse stepped forward, her voice steady as she spoke. "I accept the Raven Queen's invitation. I am ready to learn the ways of the Coven." In the days that followed, Elyse immersed herself in the teachings of the Coven. She studied ancient tomes filled with arcane knowledge, learning the secrets of the dark arts. Under Morgana's guidance, she began to tap into the power that had always lain dormant within her, feeling it course through her veins like an electric current. As her power grew, so did her connection to the other witches. She learned their stories, their hopes, and their fears. Each one had been drawn to the Coven for their own reasons, but they were united by their devotion to the Raven Queen and their mastery of the arcane arts. One night, as the moon hung heavy in the sky, Morgana summoned Elyse to the grand chamber. The other witches were gathered, their faces hidden beneath their hoods. In the center of the room stood a stone altar, upon which lay a single black feather. "Elyse," Morgana said, her voice low and solemn, "the time has come for you to fully embrace your role within the Coven. Tonight, you will undergo the Rite of the Raven, a sacred ceremony that will bind you to the Raven Queen and grant you access to the deepest secrets of our sisterhood." Elyse approached the altar, her heart pounding in her chest. She picked up the black feather, feeling its softness between her fingers. As she held it aloft, the witches began to chant, their voices rising and falling in an ancient language that Elyse had come to understand. Power surged through her, and the world around her seemed to fall away, replaced by a realm of shadows and whispers. As the chanting reached a crescendo, Elyse felt a searing pain in her back. She cried out, her voice mingling with the cacophony of the ritual. Slowly the pain subsided, replaced by a sensation of weightlessness. Elyse opened her eyes and gasped at what she saw. Sprouting from her back were a pair of raven's wings, black as night and shimmering with an otherworldly iridescence. She flexed them experimentally, marveling at the way they responded to her thoughts. The other witches looked on in awe, their eyes glinting with a mixture of pride and envy. Morgana stepped forward, placing a hand on Elyse's shoulder. "You have been reborn, my sister," she said, her voice filled with warmth. "The Raven Queen has bestowed upon you her greatest gift. With these wings, you will soar through the realms of shadow, carrying out her bidding and protecting the secrets of the Coven." Elyse felt a surge of power unlike anything she had ever experienced. The world around her seemed sharper, more vivid, as if a veil had been lifted from her eyes. She knew that she was no longer the same person she had been when she first stepped through the gates of the manor. She was a witch of the Coven, a daughter of the Raven Queen. In the days that followed, Elyse learned to master her new abilities. She flew through the night sky, reveling in the freedom of the wind beneath her wings. She delved deeper into the mysteries of the arcane, unlocking secrets that had been hidden for generations. And always, she felt the presence of the Raven Queen, guiding her, shaping her into the witch she was meant to be. As Elyse grew in power and knowledge, she began to uncover the darker secrets of the Coven. Whispers of forbidden rituals and ancient sacrifices echoed through the halls of the manor, and Elyse found herself drawn ever deeper into the shadows. One night, as she walked the corridors of the manor, Elyse overheard a hushed conversation between Morgana and another witch. They spoke of a ritual, one that would require a great sacrifice in order to summon the Raven Queen herself. Elyse's heart raced at the thought, both thrilled and terrified by the prospect. In the days that followed, Elyse wrestled with the decision of whether to participate in the ritual. She knew that it would require her to cross a line, to embrace the darkness in a way she had never done before. But the lure of power, of being in the presence of the Raven Queen, was too strong to resist. On the night of the ritual, Elyse joined her sisters in the grand chamber. The air was thick with the scent of incense and the crackle of arcane energy. In the center of the room, upon the stone altar, lay a figure draped in black silk. As Morgana began to chant, Elyse felt a chill run down her spine. The ritual was a blur of blood and shadow, of whispered incantations and raw primal power. And then, in a moment that seemed to stretch into eternity, the Raven Queen appeared. She was a figure of terrible beauty, with eyes that glowed like embers and wings that blotted out the stars. Elyse felt herself falling to her knees, overwhelmed by the presence of the goddess she had served so faithfully. And as the Raven Queen spoke, her voice a whisper that echoed through the ages, Elyse knew that she would follow her into the darkness, now and forever.